Hello, and welcome back to the Charlian Forum. My name is Chris, and today I'm going to continue my series of guides for the jobs of Final Fantasy XIV's newest expansion, Dawntrail. Today we're going to be taking a look at the dashing duelist, Red Mage. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to my channel for more Final Fantasy content, and like this video to show your support if you feel like I've earned it. As a note before I get started, I'm going to be using the level 100 versions of all tooltips and spells, so be sure to take a look at your spellbook and adjust these as you need to if you're lower than level 100. With that said, let's jump right into it. Up first, we're going to discuss the very basics of the Red Mage. The job's weapon of choice is the Rapier and Focus, which can be combined into a staff to channel their powerful spells. With their blending of black and white magics, Red Mage is not only a powerful and flexible caster, but also a very potent supportive addition to any team. Red Mage has a couple unique mechanics in its kit, and a heavy presence of what's called proc-based spellcasts, as well as the dual cast mechanic. It's a bit difficult to explain Red Mage without understanding dual cast, so we're going to break it down right now. Dual cast is a very unique Red Mage mechanic that grants a buff, dual cast, anytime you successfully complete a spell's cast time. While under the effect of dual cast, your next spell requires no cast time. As a note, dual cast will only trigger when you fully cast a spell with a full cast time. This means that using spells under the effect of dual cast or swift cast will not grant a dual cast stack. What this essentially means is that for every fully casted spell time that you have, your next cast time will be instant, giving Red Mage a lot of movement baked right into their kit. I'll explain the further implications of this ability later, but for now, just know that that's the basic gist of it. And yes, dual cast can still be consumed on silly stuff like sprint or potions, so be mindful not to press erroneous buttons if it can be avoided. Explaining the job gauge of Red Mage shows us a relatively simple layout. On one side you have white mana, and on the other, black mana. You can build these bars by casting spells that are aligned with the mana type that you're looking to build. At the top of the gauge there is a crystal which shows the status of your mana. The main gameplay loop of Red Mage involves keeping your white and black mana in balance while building both. Once you have enough, you can unleash your most powerful attacks. While it may be tempting to build one bar and then the other, you need to be careful of this, because balance being out of whack too far in one direction will actively hamper your ability to build the opposite mana. So maintaining a balanced approach will ensure that you get your most damaging abilities more quickly and ensure that you get there smoothly. At the bottom of your job gauge, there are 3 diamonds, which will track how many mana stacks you have. Again, we'll discuss this segment of the gauge more deeply later. Now we'll move on to your basic combos and your single target abilities. Red Mage is a bit unique compared to a more traditional quote-unquote caster like, say, Black Mage, in that its basic spells are actually combos. We have 2 combo paths, one for white mana and another for black mana. Up first, our white mana combo will begin with Jolt. Jolt is a basic non-aspected spell with a 2-second cast time. This will additionally grant 2 white mana and 2 black mana. Following Jolt will be Verarrow, a spell that will increase our white mana gauge by 6 and has a 50% chance to proc the finisher of the white mana path, Verstone, which will grant an additional 5 white mana upon being cast. Our black mana combo will again begin with Jolt, granting 2 of each mana, followed by Verthunder, which will increase our black mana by 6, and additionally has a 50% chance to proc the finisher of the black mana path, Verfire, which will grant a further 5 black mana if cast. As you can see, these 2 combos are perfect parallels of one another, one simply building white mana and the other building black mana. Assuming that you get your proc on Verarrow or Verthunder, at the end of a combo you'll have gained 13 mana for the aligned mana type and 2 from the opposite using Jolt. What you may have noticed when you're moving through these combos is that Jolt has a 2-second cast time, while Verthunder and Verarrow have a much longer 5-second cast time. This makes them perfect fodder for our dual cast buff, so make sure that you always cast Jolt or another quick casting spell before using these much longer cast time combo steps. For our other single target attacks, we also have Reprise, an instant filler weapon skill. While in its standard form it serves as a melee attack, if you have at least 5 of each mana, Reprise will consume mana to become Enchanted Reprise, making it not only ranged, but also much more powerful. This button doesn't see a ton of use, but it can be a really good tool if you don't have dual cast up and you need to move immediately for a mechanic so that you don't miss a cast of something. We also have a single target OGCD, Fletch, which simply delivers a ranged attack with a cooldown of 25 seconds. We can weave this in at various points in our rotation for some additional potency. Moving on to our AoE combos and multi-target abilities, much like our single-target combos and abilities, we have two branching AoE combos and an AoE OGCD. For AoE basic combos, we have our non-aspected spell, Impact, and our white magic spell, Ver Arrow 2, and our black magic spell, Ver Thunder 2. Interestingly, in direct contrast to our single-target combo, the speed of casting is reversed for the AoE combo. Instead of our non-aspected spell, Impact, being the short cast and our elemental spells being long, our elemental spells, Ver Arrow and Ver Thunder 2, each have a 2-second cast time, while Impact has a cast of 5 seconds. You'll want to cast the AoE elemental spell of your choice, depending on which mana you want to build, and then follow it with an Impact for higher potency. Ver Arrow 2 and Ver Thunder 2 will each grant 7 to their respective mana gauges, while Impact will grant 3 to both. Our AoE OGCD is called Contra-Sixt, a simple AoE version of Fletch on a 35-second cooldown. Please note that Contra-Sixt and Fletch do not share a cooldown, meaning that both can be used at any time during your rotation to weave in for additional potency. Now that we've discussed how to build mana in both single and multi-target scenarios, now we have to decide what we're going to do with it. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, as you successfully cast your elemental spells, you'll see your mana gauge building with each spell's relative mana alignment. If the gauge goes too far in one direction, the crystal at the top will change colors, warning you that your mana is out of balance, causing you to accumulate the opposite mana at half the normal rate. When your mana gauge is balanced, your crystal will be red. You should aim to maintain this balance at all times. As you cast, you may have noticed that your melee skills, Riposte, Zwerchau, Redoublement, and Moulinet will have their buttons change from a purple to a red coloring. This is a visual aid to show that you now have enough mana in your mana gauge to enhance these skills, changing them to their enchanted versions. Once you have 50 of each mana, you'll be able to unleash a full melee combo. For single target, you'll want to move through your combo with Enchanted Riposte, Enchanted Zwerchau, and Enchanted Redoublement. For AoE, your melee combo simply requires you to press Moulinet 3 times. It will transform from Enchanted Moulinet to Enchanted Moulinet 2 and Enchanted Moulinet 3. As you execute the 3 weapon skills in either case, you'll see your black and white mana deplete with each use, and a small diamond at the bottom of your gauge light up. These are the aforementioned mana stacks, and at 3 mana stacks you'll be able to use your most powerful attacks, your finisher combo. Much like all of our other combos, we have a black magic finisher and a white magic finisher. For white magic, we have Ver Holy, a powerful AoE spell which generates 11 white mana when cast and additionally grants a chance to proc the Verstone Ready buff, allowing the execution of Verstone. This proc chance can be increased to a 100% chance if Ver Holy is cast when your black mana is higher than your white mana. Similarly, Ver Flare, your black magic finisher, is a powerful AoE spell that will generate 11 black mana and additionally has a 50% chance to proc Ver Fire Ready, allowing the execution of Ver Fire. Just like before, this proc chance can be increased to 100% if Ver Flare is cast when your white mana is higher than your black mana. As you may have surmised, you'll want to cast whichever of these finishers you have less mana for, to ensure that you get this free proc for the extra potency. Following either Ver Holy or Ver Flare, your Jolt button will change into Scorch, another powerful AoE spell that will generate 4 of each mana, followed by Resolution, which grants an additional 4. This means that after a successful finisher combo, you'll have gained 19 mana for your chosen alignment and 8 for the opposite. This, quote, imbalance is just enough to keep you switching back and forth in your finishers, ensuring that one is always just higher than the other to give you that 100% proc chance without pushing you over the edge on balance, causing a slower mana generation. Maintaining this balance and keeping an eye on your mana gauge is the biggest factor for success on Red Mage. Watchfulness to ensure that you're building the correct mana, not building too much of one and not enough of the other, and ensuring you're executing the correct finisher to keep this balance in check is not only very satisfying, but also an extremely engaging loop. Add on to this the very satisfying melee combo and OGCD management, and Red Mage is not only very flashy and impressive looking, but also very fun to manage and play. For buffs and utilities, Red Mage is absolutely no slouch. First up, we'll discuss your movement skills. Core is a gap closer that will cause you to rush to your target and deliver an attack. This is a perfect skill for engaging into an enemy before using your melee combo. It holds 2 stacks, each with a recharge time of 35 seconds. Inversely, we have Displacement, a melee ability that deals damage and causes you to backflip away from the target. Just like Core, this skill holds 2 stacks, each with a recharge of 35 seconds. This is usually used immediately after the melee combo to create distance, to help with your magical finisher combos, or to disengage from a melee combo if a mechanic is about to go out at point blank range. If you want to deliver an attack instead without the backflip, you also have access to Engagement. Engagement shares stacks with a recharge timers with displacement, but doesn't cause you to backflip. This is really great for when a backflip would be bad, or just to use for potency to fill in when the backflip isn't necessary. For person utilities, Red Mage has a few options. Acceleration is an ability that holds 2 stacks, each with a 55-second recharge time that grants various effects. Most importantly, it makes your next Ver Thunder, Ver Arrow, or Impact an instant cast, while additionally increasing the potency of Impact by 50 and ensuring that Ver Thunder and Ver Arrow will trigger their respective proc spells with a 100% chance. Additionally, using Acceleration grants the Grand Impact Ready buff, which will transform both Impact and Jolt into Grand Impact, a much more powerful version of our non-aspected basic spells. Embolden is a simple cooldown that increases the damage of all party members by 5% for 20 seconds, while also increasing your own magic damage by an additional 5%. As an added bonus, Embolden grants the Thorned Flourish buff, which will transform Embolden into Vice of Thorns, a powerful AoE attack that can be executed while under this buff. Manification is an ability with a 110-second cooldown that grants us, again, numerous effects. Firstly, Manification will instantly grant 3 stacks of the Magicked Swordplay buff, which allows any of our enchanted melee skills to be used without any mana cost. As an additional bonus, it grants 6 stacks of the Manification buff, which increases magic damage that you deal by 5%. Once you consume all 6 of these Manification stacks, you'll be granted the Prefulgence Ready buff, allowing the execution of Prefulgence, a very powerful OGCD ability. Magicked Barrier is Red Mage's premier defensive cooldown, granting all party members and yourself a reduction in damage taken by 10%, while additionally increasing HP recovered by healing actions by 5% for 10 seconds with a 120-second cooldown. This is an awesome ability for raid-wide attacks, or for just helping the party get back on their feet after a heavy-hitting attack. Lastly are Red Mage's most infamous spells, Vercure and Verraise. Vercure is probably the only cure spell on a DPS job that's actually worth using, restoring a fair amount of HP to yourself or a target. Verraise does exactly what it says on the tin, raises a fallen party member from death. Verraise also has a very long cast time of 10 seconds, but it is eligible from the benefit of dual cast, meaning that Red Mages can easily chain raise fallen allies between healing casts or even offensive casts without the use of their swift cast buff, making them extremely potent supportive teammates in progression rating scenarios. Because of this ability to drag their team kicking and screaming across mechanical finish lines, Res Mages, as they're commonly called, are almost always seen in high-end progression groups to help the team get through as many mechanics and see as much of a fight as possible before they finally wipe to overwhelming damage or odds. If you like being, quote, the guy who can clutch and heal in high-stress situations, Red Mage is almost always a good choice to bring along. The standard opener for Red Mage is quite a doozy. I'll do my best to explain it, but before I do, it's worth noting that there are alternative versions of the opener that are a little bit easier to execute and that don't require double weaving. This is really important if your connection and gameplay just don't allow for double weaving, and as always, I'll have a link to the Balance Discord for all of this information below. For a standard opener though, we're going to be precasting Ver Arrow about 5 seconds before the boss is pulled. Since we don't start the fight with a dual cast proc, we're going to hard cast our first elemental spell just to get the ball rolling as quickly as possible. Now that we have a dual cast proc, we'll follow it with an immediate Ver Thunder. We'll then double weave Swift Cast and a potion if you're raiding. Follow this with another Ver Thunder, weave Fletch and Acceleration, cast a third Ver Thunder, then weave Embolden and Manification. With Manification up, we can now start our melee combo with Enchanted Riposte, weave Contra Sixt, Enchanted Zvershao, weave Engagement, and Enchanted Redoublement. Now you can weave a Core. Follow this with Verholy, and then consume the Thorned Flourish buff from Embolden to fire off a Vice of Thorns. After this, we'll hit Scorch, weave Engagement and Core, Resolution, weave your Prefulgence here, then dump your Grand Impact stack, weave Acceleration, Ver Fire, another Grand Impact, Ver Thunder, weave Flesh, Ver Arrow, Ver Fire, Ver Thunder, Verstone. Verarrow. Weave Swiftcast and cast a final Verarrow, weaving a final Contra Sixth right as it comes off cooldown. I know that's a crazy opener, but the good news is that Red Mage's regular rotation is much simpler. You'll essentially just want to follow a very basic priority system. You'll cast Verstone or Verfire and generate whichever mana you need more of if they're up, and Jolt if they aren't. You'll always spend your dual cast stacks on either Verarrow or Verthunder to avoid their much longer cast times. You'll use all of your buffs essentially on cooldown, just making sure to fit Vice of Thorns and Prefulgence under your team's raid buffs, as well as your melee combo and any finishers you can fit. You can utilize your healing and defensive abilities to help your healers and salvage runs if they start to go sideways. And with Swiftcast and Acceleration, you have a ton of mobility and flexibility in your casting. And really, that's pretty much it. Red Mage is a deceptively complex job to play with a lot going on, and while it may deal a tiny bit less damage than some of the other casters, it has the potential to have insane clutch plays and save runs with its potent supportive skills. All in all, it lives up to the hype, and it's an extremely fun and flashy job to play at pretty much any skill level. I highly recommend it. And with that, I've wrapped up my guide to Red Mage and Dawntrail. Do you enjoy playing the dashing duelist, or do you find its faster pace and melee hybrid content isn't for you? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you feel like I've earned it. Thanks for watching. Bye.